Hello, this is Warlord 12, and today I needed to make this video concerning Nintendo and Palworld. So I'm going to say this because when I talk in this video for what I'm about to say, I'm talking directly to Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying man to man. I'm talking about you head corporals, you head CEOs at Nintendo, the head manager. I'm saying this directly to you. And I will say this, if there was ever a time and point that you wanted me to talk to you directly, I don't mind talking to you face to face about what I'm about to say right now. Because what you're doing is going way too far. What I'm saying is, when I have to make a video like this, you know you messed up. Because I rarely ever make a video like this concerning companies. The only one I did this to was probably PlayStation and probably Sweet Baby Inc. That's probably like the only ones that I really had to make a video like that on. But you, Nintendo, you take the cake. I'm gonna say this now because a lot of us we're getting tired of you. So I want to start off with the patent stuff going on. So for instance, you're talking about not being able to mount something like an object, right? And then not only I'm gonna get to that later on as well. And then the other patent was for basically you can't throw like a I guess basically like a capturing object, object that captures things to capture a creature, and then like the patent is for against a meter that determines how close you are to capturing a certain creature, right? Things like that. So, what I need to say about this whole thing, this whole patent stuff, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are, loyal Nintendo fans. Then you got people in general who are trying to defend this stuff, saying, "Oh, well, it's the law. Well, it's legal." That for as far as the patent goes, what I'm saying, when it comes down to the court system and the law and stuff like that, right? All right. So what I'm going to say about that, right, is just like with squatters, right? So this is me talking about how just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's still okay. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's righteous. You know what I'm saying? So here's my example, right? Let's say this is one of the main problems today, right? A squatter. Just because a squatter, right, has legal information of someone else's house that isn't theirs in the first place, just because they have certain documents, even though they're not the homeowner, right? And they take the person to court and it's not even their house in the first place, it doesn't make it okay. What I'm also saying is these specific patents that I brought up is an insult to not just gaming in itself, but even as far as real life. Things that people have already done before, been there, done that. All right. So for instance, let's talk about the patent for the mount, right? Saying indigenous people, we've already been riding on horses. We've already used mounts already before. So, but this isn't just about, my culture, right? I'm also explaining something as far as even other people's cultures go, as far as using other creatures as mounts. You know what I'm saying? So you're trying to patent something that has already been done before, people have already been doing, right? You're trying to have it all to yourself, right? That's selfish. So what I'm also saying, even with your patent, right? There's there's lots of different video games out there that have mounts. So what does that mean? That means Nintendo can sit here and say, "Oh, well, you know what? I feel like this video game is making more money than us, and their game somewhat looks similar to ours. Let's sue them." There's at least 20 different games that already have capture mechanics, that have some type of capture mechanic, or even, a mount. You know what I'm saying? Like Ark Survival, right? So, what point in time does Nintendo choose, "Oh, let's sue this company"? But of course, the reason why they target, a company like Pocket Pair right? The reason why they would target a company like them is because what they basically want to do is use Pocket Pair as an example for all other, you know, indie developers that try to make anything that's, remotely similar to, like Pokemon or, saying a monster taming game, stuff like that. That way, no one else will try to. The basic way I would say is to challenge them as far as, making money or basically an easier way of getting rid of the competition, right? For whatever, however much that Nintendo believes that they would have gotten if it wasn't for some other company that has, a video game that's similar to theirs. Even if that video game is doing something different from Pokemon and is doing something that Nintendo would never do, right? When it comes to entertainment. So I'm going to get into like some of the patents with, like the Pokeball mechanic soon enough, but I want to talk more about the mounts right now. So for right now, right? So this is Darksiders 2, right? This, what I'm saying? This is a mount, right? So what happens if, Nintendo's like, oh, we have to we have to sue, the people who made Darksiders because they have a mount. Do you see how stupid that is? Then we have Drakengard 3. Here you also have a mount. And then look what we have here, a video game like on the front of the cover, a mount from, Golden Axe, right? Oh, World of Warcraft, a mount, right? I said, but why? But you don't see Nintendo going after them, right? And I would believe that there are already video games before Pokemon that did mounts already, right? So the thing is, Nintendo wants to act like they did all these other things first when we've been had stuff like this. Even in real life, like I was already talking about. But see, when I say, why isn't Nintendo going after stuff like this, right? Because Nintendo's petty. I'll tell you why they're doing it, because they're petty, right? And I will say, to all these people that hold Nintendo in these high regards, you know what I'm saying? All these people that, they want to keep on hyping up Nintendo and stuff like that, or, whatever their deal is, right? Some of these fanboys and stuff. They want to sit here, all these people, they want to sit here and brag about Nintendo and how much money, they always want to brag about how much money Nintendo makes. They always want to talk about how much, Pokemon makes and stuff like that, right? You know what I'm saying? So here's my question for all that. If Nintendo's making all that money, if Nintendo makes so much money, why are they going after an indie company? Does that make sense to anyone? They make enough money. They make all that money, right? So if they make so much money, why are they going after an indie company? Because that indie company is making the money that Nintendo would have made. And I'm going to say this to you, Nintendo. That's your fault. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't want to do certain things with your video game to begin with. You wanted to do bare minimum with your Pokemon games. I said there are certain things you didn't want to patch. There are certain fixes and bugs that you didn't want to take care of, right? And you didn't want to be truly innovative with your stuff. And there are certain things that Nintendo would have never have done in their wildest dreams with Pokemon when it comes to video games. And now they want to come over here and sue, Pocket Pair because they're making all the money. All the stuff that you could have did, Nintendo, you could have been did it, but you chose not to. And now that you're not making the money that you used to be making, now you want to go. Now you want to be petty and go after Pocket Pair. Before I get into like the mechanic with like that Pokeball thing versus the Pal Spear, I'm gonna get into that. Saying, and what I'm about to say has something to do with that as well as of what I'm talking about. See, here's the thing, right? People are probably upset that I made this video or that I'm talking about this. See, here's the thing. If it wasn't for Nintendo, I wouldn't have even talked about this in the first place. I didn't care for talking about this. I made one video a long time ago with, Palworld and Pokemon, and I was probably just gonna leave it at that. right? It was just like, oh, whatever, like, I'm done. I don't gotta say nothing no more. But then, right when I'm buying Palworld, right? I was already planning to buy Palworld. Before I got to buy it, I start hearing and started seeing certain things where Nintendo had something to do with certain things getting patched out the game, certain things getting removed from the game, right? So, like for instance, your PAL has to appear next to you. You can't throw a PAL spear and have it appear and stuff like that. So, stuff like that, right? So after I hear about that, so after I found that out, I said, you know what? I'm buying Palworld anyway. I don't care. I'm gonna play it more. I'm gonna play it more than the new Pokemon games. I don't care. So I bought Palworld. About Palworld. Then I start hearing more stuff that they're going after the mount stuff. I'm gonna say this to you, Nintendo. See, I said the one thing you don't do, right? You know what I'm saying? Not just me, but people in general. I said, see, I wouldn't have even made this video in the first place. But now you're doing certain things that's messing with my fun and my enjoyment. What I'm saying is, now you're starting some mess. Now you're starting stuff. And that's the only reason why I'm making this video right now. And you know what's funny? Because what I realized about you, Nintendo, you're always trying to start some mess. I said, the thing is, a lot of us now, what's going on now recently with, the gaming industry and all this other stuff, and in general, YouTubers and people on social media, people in general, they're getting tired of you. Because we were putting up with it before. It was just one of those things where it's just like, we knew what you were doing, but it was just like, okay, like we didn't, we weren't saying nothing, we weren't really doing nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? But now it's starting to get to a point where what you're doing is you're messing with innovation. And like I said, we were already tired of you because of certain ways that you have about yourself, certain patterns that you have about yourself, bullying other companies, bullying other people just because you have more money, just because you have more people in suits. See, we were already getting tired of you. And this was the final nail in the coffin. So I want to say this. You may win the lawsuit, whatever it is, right? As far as, money goes. But see, that's your problem. You think that you can always solve the problem by throwing money at the court system. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that because I've already talked about this before about how there are certain things going on with the court system. There are certain times you probably shouldn't even win. But because of, manipulation tactics that you got going on, that's the only reason why you won some certain cases. So I'm going to say that right now about what you're doing as well. I said, here, I'm going to say this because I said, one day, what goes around comes around. I'm going to say this about you, Nintendo. One day you're going to sue the wrong people and you're going to try and use the same dirty tactics you've been using before and it's not going to work. What I'm saying, there's certain situations when you try to sue in the court system, there are certain situations where there will be a time where money will not work. You understand what I'm saying? I said there's certain people that you try to do that with, and some people are going to tell you, your money is no good here. Your money doesn't work here. There's a point in life where money is not going to get you anywhere. I'm letting you know that right now. I said, look, all I'm saying is, I said, one day you're going to probably mess with the wrong person when it comes to this stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that. Like I said, what goes around comes around. Nintendo, one day you're going to learn that pay to win stuff that you're trying to do in real life, it's not going to work. So now I'm going to get to what I was going to talk about was, the Pokeball system, right? Or the Pokeball patent. So look right here, we've been had stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Fishing nets, that's used to capture creatures, right? So this is what I'm also saying. See, it's like Nintendo trying to patent things or sue for things that we've already been had. We've been had stuff like that. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's not enough for you because we want to talk about something that's more projectile based, right? Or something that you throw, right? All right, let me get to that. I'm going to say this to you right now, Nintendo. You can go kick rocks. And I mean that with a passion. All right, see what this is here, right? This is a net gun, right? So this is something that's used to capture creatures, right? And what do you do with it? You launch it, right? You launch the net. So it's something that's basically casting, or you could say basically like the word throwing, right? So this is an example of what I'm talking about. We've been had stuff like this already. So it's like, why are you trying to sue for something that we've been doing? You know, as human beings, we've done this already, and you're trying to sue for it. That's what the problem is. Just because you could get a piece of paper, about how, saying that, with a patent and something that's legal and stuff like that, just because you can do that doesn't mean that it's right. Just because you can do that doesn't mean that it's legit. Nintendo. I thought about this and I said, it's funny. One day I called a Pokemon a pal one time. And I said to myself, so jokingly, I said, maybe what I'll do instead of calling, a Pokemon, maybe I'll call it a pal instead. Because since this is how you want to act, Nintendo, I'm just saying, no, this is something that's just on the table that I'm thinking about doing. Maybe I might do it here and there as a little joke, maybe, but that's probably going to be it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna say it. What I'm also trying to say is, I don't gotta be petty like you're being and what you're doing, Nintendo. That's also what I'm trying to say as well. And I need to say this because Nintendo, the only reason why you're really doing this is because someone's doing something something that's better than what you're doing, something that you would never do, and they're making money off of it. That's what Pocket Pair is doing, and you can't stand it. So now you're resorting to petty tactics. And I have to say it. You know what I'm saying? People are going to say it because we're tired of you. We're tired of all this foolishness that you're always trying to do. We're tired of you always trying to start some mess. So I've already been speaking facts, right? Okay, here's what I'm talking about as well. Let's say for an example of, as far as this right here I'm talking about is more of like a theory. But what I'm saying is this is something that could happen. I'm saying this, I wouldn't put it past Nintendo because Nintendo might do something about something like this, right? You see Fatal Fury, right? Of course, this popular fighting game. Now, let's say one day Pocket Pair and let's say the people who made KOF, right? Let's say SNK says, hey, what would be a good idea? How about we do a collaboration with one of your PAL creatures over here with a fighting game, right? And let's say Pocket Pair uses like a creature like something like this, right? Who's to say that Nintendo won't get jealous or, have a vendetta or get petty and decide, oh, well, we got to do something about that. We got to stop that. Or maybe it could be that they saw stuff like this was probably going to happen in the future and said, oh, we got to do something about Pocket Pair now. This is just an example, right? Because this is a reality. This is a possibility. And I'm not just talking about King of Fighters. This could happen with, with Pocket Pair and one of their creatures being in some other type of fighting games that I won't mention yet, right? And probably in a different video. So what I'm also saying is, see, Nintendo, look at all the years Nintendo has been running Pokemon, right? Have you not one time have you seen Nintendo do a collab where it's Pokemon in a fighting game like KOF or Tekken 8 or Street Fighter? Yes, we've seen some of these fighting game characters show up in, Smash Bros. But have you ever seen a Pokemon show up in Tekken 8? Have you ever seen a Pokemon show up in KOF? Have you seen a Pokemon ever show up in Street Fighter? An official video game? No, you haven't. But you might see a pal show up in a game like Tekken 8 or King of Fighters or Street Fighter for that matter. And I'm going to say this, Nintendo. How about instead of you bullying people, suing people in order to make money that you would have made, how about instead of doing that, How about you just earn your money like everybody else and actually put forth the effort in your video games instead of being cheap? And the last thing that I'm going to say about you, Nintendo, is mind your business. Just mind your business, man.